Hey everybody, I'm Brad Miller, and here with Jason Medford, and we are walking a spiritual path. And today we're going to talk about why Jason is always wearing black. For those of you who listen to the podcast, you are totally oblivious and you have no idea what this is all about. So that's fine. But Jason has been wearing black a lot lately,
Mhm.
and I am wearing a bright red shirt today. And there are reasons why we are wearing what we're wearing today. And not just because red is a pretty color or because black makes Jason look very, serious and manly and all that stuff. But there are energetic reasons behind the things that we wear and their environment around us. And so I thought we could talk about that today, about the energy of your environment. And so we will start by, again, the question on everyone's mind is why is Jason wearing black all the time lately?
Which is funny, Brad, because from my Jamming with Jason podcast, one of the thoughts that's popped in is talking about the black shirt and the man in black. But so okay, so I'm going to answer this question, but again, everybody, we're like the bigger purpose is talking about the energy of our environment, right? And how different colors, as an example, different
Mhm.
sounds, different smells, different lighting,
Mhm.
all kind of affect your energy as well, right? And so there's some practical reasons and there's some not so practical reasons why you will probably see me in a black shirt most of the time going forward. Okay.
Going for the Steve Jobs effect, just
Okay, so you bring up Steve Jobs. So there is an idea. It's called decision fatigue,
Mhm.
which is you try to reduce the number of decisions that you have to make each day, uh, so that you have the energy to make the really important decisions.
Mhm.
And so Steve Jobs used those black shirts as a way to reduce decision fatigue, right? So he
Mhm.
didn't have to think about what he was going to wear each day. But there was also a very practical thing for him too. He had bought this black shirt from a Japanese designer, and he really liked it. And he ended up meeting the guy and mentioned to him, or somehow it got back to the designer, that Steve Jobs really likes this black shirt. And so the designer sent him like 100 or 200 of these shirts. So from a practical perspective, Steve's like, what am I going to do with all these? So he wore the black
Mhm.
shirts every day too, right? So, but there's a practical reason, but there's a not so practical reason as well, right?
Mhm.
And for me, there's another kind of symbolic reason, because I'll kind of jump back and forth on the different reasons, right? One is I have a lot of respect for Johnny Cash. Johnny Cash was
Men in
known
black.
as the Man in Black because at some point in his career, he started mainly wearing black all of the time. And he wrote a song called The Man in Black. And it wasn't a song about himself, it was, but if you go back and listen to the lyrics of that song, he says, I wear black for the man who's been wrongly accused, for the man who's in prison, for all these people that are disadvantaged and down on their luck. I wear black for them, and I will continue to wear black for them until they are free. Sort of an idea behind it, right? So I always thought that that was kind of a cool, imagery, from it.
Mhm.
I'm a pretty colorful guy. In fact, if you go back and look at a
Mhm.
lot of my videos from before, you'll see that I have a very colorful wardrobe. I also have a very colorful mouth sometimes, right?
They often go together.
They often go together. And so I still have a whole closet full of, colorful clothes. And again, who knows, right? But as a teenager, I was always very comfortable in t-shirts. They're very practical in a lot of ways too, right? You can layer them, you can do all kinds of stuff, right? so I kind of like the imagery of that. And then I found this particular brand of shirt. It's called Lambs, 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 that I was told about. That is actually an EMF blocking technology.
Mm.
So it's actually it has like space technology to block EMF rays from getting into my body. So, especially with solar flares, a lot of the other energy and things like that that are going on out there, it physically protects my body from EMF. And it's a newer company, it's not like they're not in business for fashion. They're in business to protect you for people who want that sort of protection. So I think
Mhm.
the options were like light gray, black, or white. Three options. I picked black, right? Because for another reason too. I don't like to draw attention to myself when I'm out in public
Mm.
for some different reasons. And I have noticed if I am wearing something colorful or kind of iconic, like my that Pendleton sweater jacket that I have, that you're like, hey, I've seen somebody else that had it, right? It's the one that the
Yep.
dude wore in The Big Lebowski. A lot of people will comment on that, and I actually had somebody come up to me in the grocery store and touch me when I was wearing that, which kind of freaked me out a little bit.
Hmm.
And again, that's another one of those parking lot encounter kind of experiences that we
Yeah.
won't get into that now. But so I just choose usually when I'm out in public to not necessarily blend in because I can't blend in energetically, but not to draw attention to myself
Mm.
when I'm out in public.
Sure. No, it's
Also,
like the cars. It's like people with red cars. They tend to be seen by
police
cops and
officers
things like.
more. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And so there's some of that aspect to it. Some of it is a decision fatigue, because again,
Mhm.
I just like the way these feel. They wash nice. They actually you can't see if I drip food on myself, right? In the video here, even. And so I bought several black shirts, so I just kind of rotate through those. But there's also, like you said, um, energy and things behind the colors that we wear as well, right?
Hmm.
And so a lot of people may associate black with darkness and people working in the dark, but again, that's just what people say. It has nothing to do with that. In fact, what's funny is, I'm wearing black and you're wearing red,
Hmm.
and one of the Orishas colors are black and red. So there's certain beings who actually also are associated with certain colors or certain color combinations as well. And so, you can kind of honor them or remember them by lighting candles that are those colors, by uh, uh, wearing those colors as
Hmm.
well for things that maybe jump out at you, right? And so that's a little bit, and we can get
Hmm.
further on, but let's flip it around too,
Yeah,
right? Because you chose to wear a red shirt
I
today,
did.
and
Hmm.
so why
Yeah.
is that?
I mean, the basic answer would be because it matches my shorts.
Okay, there you
But
go.
no, so a couple of things about my clothes. I generally, especially if I'm doing something here on the podcast, if I'm going out for different things to do stuff, generally I will wear things without words on them. Um, because the words, whether it's a brand, a logo, whatever like that, there's energy behind those words,
Mhm.
behind that image, the logo, whatnot. And it may not necessarily be an energy that I want to bring to something. For this
Hmm.
podcast, for instance, I may not want to bring the energy of a particular company that has a logo or something.
Hmm.
So I tend to, wear clothing that does not have um, sayings or things like that on it. It does help me blend in a bit as well, but it doesn't stand out as well. Although again, bright red shirt, like you can only hide so much unless you're in a room of other people wearing red shirts, I suppose. Um, but for me, I choose the clothes that I wear based on what feels right for that day. So when I decided to wear this shirt today, I got out of the shower and I did grab my shorts, the shorts I wanted to wear first, the pants I wanted to wear first. But then I went over my drawer and was like, all right, what shirt I want to wear today? And usually, oftentimes, it's the one that's on top. But today I was like, I don't know if I feel that one today. And I kind of opened up another drawer and looked through there and kind of, flip through some stuff and like, not really feeling this stuff today. So I went back to the first drawer and I kind of saw the red one. And I was like, red it is. That's the one that kind of drew to me, and so that's the one that I picked today. And that's usually how I choose what I wear. It's just kind of what calls to me, what's I'm drawn to, what seems right for that day. Um, the energy that I need for the day, the energy maybe that that's kind of my primary energy for the day. I mean, we could really go down the rabbit holes of color theory and the different energy levels that different colors have and things, but for more just, for the simple answer is it's just this is what I was drawn to for today and I felt I should wear.
Well, which is interesting because it's, again, well, we may end up talking this whole episode about clothing. Who knows, right? We just start and we
That's
go.
cool. No, that's how this
But
works. Yeah.
but what's interesting too is that every kind of fabric, every color has different frequencies and energies associated with it as well. And so another thing, I don't know if you know this about red, but red is typically a protective color as well. And so wearing red, there's a long-standing ancient tradition in the East of wearing a red string around one's left wrist. And the reason for that is red is a protective color, and so there's a lot of I'm trying to remember what you call them, um, what the name of the bracelets are. It doesn't matter, but anyway, but because your left side is typically your weaker side energetically as well, and so placing a red bracelet on your left hand is a way to protect. Wearing red, when you're dealing with people, public facing or other stuff like that, is also a way of protecting, you know. And one of the other reasons why I wear black t-shirts is you don't know what's going on underneath. Okay. Okay, because again, I'm actually wearing a red t-shirt under my black t-shirt for that reason. Okay. And I also have a bunch of jewelry and other stuff that's on underneath that, again, sometimes you might see poking up, but I don't want people seeing necessarily what's all going on there. Um, but so red, there's some protective qualities of red too. And again, I don't know if that's why that was what you were told to choose today,
Don't
but
know.
when you popped up and you're wearing red and I'm wearing black, I thought of the Orisha, right? And was giving honor to him, whose colors are red and black. Because it meant something to me as well,
Mhm.
right? But even too with and I think you can the clothing that we wear, not even just the color, but the fabric that it's made out of, who it's made by, or the type of process that it's undergone in its making, comes to us with different energy as well. And again, for me, I'm most comfortable. I feel better in natural fabrics, for the most part. So if I can have cotton, wool, silk, maybe bamboo, as wool, for what I'm actually wearing, that's what I
Hmm.
prefer to have next to my skin or my body. And so most of my clothing is out of a natural fabric. To me, the polyester man-made stuff just isn't the same. I feel like I'm coated in oil because polyester is oil. For me, right, it
Hmm.
just doesn't quite feel right. Now that doesn't mean that I don't have. I mean, the pants that I really like are, I think, probably mainly polyester, right? But it's a blend. It still feels nice to me. It
Hmm.
still kind of gives that good energetic flow for me. Which is why I do it, because you have to feel comfortable in your
Hmm.
clothing as well. And sometimes the color of the clothing or what it's made of is a big part of the energy in your environment.
Yeah.
Again, you don't know, but I usually around the house I wear deer moccasins. Why? Because again, leather is a uh, natural fiber is the wrong word, but it's a natural clothing element, and it connects me to deer medicine
Hmm.
as well. So, I choose to usually wear these around the house. Plus, I'm also more grounded because there's no plastic or rubber between me and the ground. It's just me and nature, just like people for a long time have worn moccasins or leather sandals. It's the same kind of idea for me, but
Hmm.
that's what works for me.
Sure. Yeah. No, and I'm in the process of actually replacing some of my shirts. I have a lot of just t-shirts that are they just don't quite feel the same anymore.
Mhm, mhm,
And so I've found a um different shirt that I like that's got some kind of some fun colors and stuff. And so um went and bought a handful. I think I've got like 5 or 6 different colors of that same shirt. And so it's softer, it's more comfortable on me. It just seems to fit a little bit better. The other shirts I had tend to shrink very easily, like through the wash and stuff. So um and so yeah, definitely the feel of those ones are better. And so replacing it, and my daughter is actually quite sensitive to the clothes that she wears, like
mm,
socks for her a lot of times. Um, if they've got some sort of decoration on, it's like sometimes kids' socks have decorations and stuff on them. And sometimes they bother her feet and she doesn't like them. Because the decorations is just, and at first we were like, oh, you're being crazy or whatever, it's just fine. But now I'm like, okay, yeah, that's probably legitimate. Like you probably, maybe a little more sensitive to something like that. And so if that doesn't feel right, we don't want you to have to wear it and be feeling uncomfortable all day long.
mhm. Yeah,
So,
and I think because it's interesting, like I said, I mean, we're talking about the energy of your environment. Your clothing obviously is a big part of it. If you're
mhm,
wearing something that doesn't feel comfortable, um, that's going to affect not only just the energy flow, but also probably your emotion and the frequency that you're putting out as well, right?
mhm,
Because if you're feeling uncomfortable, then that's
yep,
not good, right? And so literally surrounding your body with the colors and fabrics that work for you. And again, it may change from day to day, right? It doesn't
mhm,
mean, again, it's like it doesn't mean one day you might not see me show up in some bright colored shirt again on here, but for now at least, I you're going to see me probably in black, um, mainly, at least for now.
yeah,
But I do change my hats because I want people to realize that I I am recording videos or
yeah,
doing stuff on different days, right? And I got a whole bunch of hats, right? But it's even the same thing
mhm,
with the hats, right?
mhm,
Some hats feel right, some don't. And
yep,
so, some I'll wear, some I won't. And so I kind of get rid of them. But,
sure. Maybe
it's
sometime we'll have like a hat episode where we'll just go and wear different hats.
different hats all the
Diff-
time.
yeah,
Yeah.
one person will be talking, the person will go and put a different hat on, and then we'll
Hmm.
for it. But
But it's
So,
even, and again, we've been talking about clothes, but think about other things in your environment that surround you,
mhm,
the whole epigenetics, right? Is it's like, if you're going to have, uh, again, you have to decide what works best for you. But again, for me, I always try to go for natural, fresh, organic, whatever it might be, right? So if I have a choice between buying imitation maple syrup or real maple syrup, right? I want what is from nature, not the counterfeit that man has made to taste like nature, right?
mhm,
If I want sugar, I want real sugar, not high fructose corn syrup, right? Um, you know, Again, we have fluorescent lights and everything, non-natural light around us a lot. Well, the more we can have natural light versus artificial
mhm,
light, probably the better, right? Even things like and everybody listening, you probably recognize this too, is it's like there's something about a candle flame or fire that is way different than lights, right? Like if
mhm,
you've ever walked into like a Catholic church or something with all the candles that are burning and it's kind of the lights are low, but it's like it's just a different feeling. And even you can try it in your bedroom, right? Light a candle in your bedroom versus turning your light on at night and see if you feel
mhm.
different because I do, right? And so
Yeah.
again, there's certain times of the day. Luckily, in my house, I've got a big skylight in the family roomish area, living room, right? So that lets in a lot of
Mhm,
natural light. It's harder in my office because since I'm recording and need the lighting to be better, usually my blinds are closed, or else get blinded this way. But I try
mhm.
to go outside and get natural light most of the day, or as much as I can, right?
Yeah. Light's a big one for me. And it's something I didn't even realize like consciously at first. Just kind of the my preference for lighting. Like I prefer to work in a space that's not, you know, bathed in fluorescent or even, any sort of like artificial light for the most part. Like I have an overhead light in my office, which I rarely ever turn on.
Mhm.
They're LEDs, so it's not like it's not quite as bad as fluorescent. But I rarely put them on because I just don't like the light. Um, I've got a table lamp over here that I use to give light, and it's a soft light. But for the most part, that's the only light that I have in my office.
Mhm.
If you look, you've got a lot more brighter of a space there than I do. And some of it is because of the wood. You have lighter walls. You have
And I've got a 3,000 watt light bulb over here going.
and you've got extra lighting and things in there going too. But now you've got light wood. You've got
Yeah,
light colored walls, wider, kind of a pale yellow. It's kind of hard to tell. You've got a bright light or whatever. My walls are gray.
yeah.
Like that make I feel more comfortable. My off office before, when I moved my old house, the walls were gray like this.
Oh,
Like I feel
really?
comfortable. Yeah, like I feel comfortable in that kind and having the gray and a little bit darker. Um, lighting, environment, and I've got a big bright window over here, which, I can put my hand in and kind of shadow it, but I have to put the curtains as well because it will just flush me out when it comes to light if I don't.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, but it's amazing how different light, like that's something that I'm particularly kind of sensitive to. It's just the way lights are, and I don't like too much light, but I like natural light.
Yeah, which is interesting because again, I mean, it's different for everybody, and that's why,
Mhm.
all of us have to figure out what works for us. Because I'm a fire sign, I love light, and so it's like I like things to be lit up, you know.
Light them up, yeah.
Yeah, and because if it's depending on what I'm doing, right? But if I'm, I like lightness, in my office especially, right? And that's why, again, being on camera, there's always this fine balance of, finding the right lighting to make you look good on camera. But yeah, I've got like, I mean, you can kind of see this aura over here because I
Hmm.
found like this 3,000 watt bulb or something like that that I have in a lampstand over there. Now it's not, you can look at it. It's not like it's blinding because it's a nice light, but it illuminates everything
Hmm.
in here for me because I feel better, when it's light. Sometimes when it's kind of, dark, I prefer candlelight, at that point, and
Hmm.
sometimes switching back and forth depending on what we're doing, right, is sometimes too much of a contrast. And a lot of people, have to use eye masks or, other things to kind of reduce the light. Like in my bedroom, the windows are blocked out. So you go in, you close the door, it's dark. You can't see anything, even in the
Hmm.
middle of the day. But it's that way on purpose for sleeping at night.
Hmm. My
And
wife
so,
is kind of the same way. She is also a fire sign, and she prefers it dark. If it was up to her, like it would be completely like blackout curtains and like pitch black, and I'm like,
it in the
I kind of need a
bedroom,
little bit,
yeah.
yeah, like I need like a night light so I don't like trip and fall in the middle of the night if I have to go to the bathroom. Like I instead of going for like the total blackout, it's just like a darkening curtain, so it's still
Hmm.
relatively dark, but like sometime in the mornings you can still like through the cracks you can get some light in there for the sun, so I know that it's like daytime. And
Hmm. Hmm.
um, but yeah, but she's very much that way with the light and stuff like that, or the darkness and that as well. And I'm usually your fire sign, love the light. I'm an air sign.
Hmm.
So I don't know how that plays with light, but I like the natural lights over artificial stuff every day. Like I can't like art like the fluorescence in buildings and stuff like that is just
Too much.
yeah.
Well, and even some of the sounds and other things, because what I've noticed recently too is, some cars now have this uh eerie sound, like for the reverse or backup or when they get started, so that people know that they're there. Like I notice this especially in Teslas.
Mm,
And it's an unnerving sound for me. I can't stand to hear that sound because it's not natural or it doesn't fit with me, right?
mm,
And I think, again, everybody listening, you're probably thinking, well, what are these guys talking about? Well, it's about everything in your environment and finding out what
mhm,
works for you energetically and what doesn't, right? Part of the reason I have to, have blackouts is my partner sleeps later. And for me, even because I'm a fire sign, I get up when the sun comes up. And in Sedona, that's 4:30 or 5 o'clock in the morning in the summertime, which means, it's if I didn't black it out, I'd go to bed at 12 or 1 or 2 and I'd be up at 4, right? Just because my body's like, nope, sun's up. Come on, time to get up, get up, get up, get up, right?
mhm.
But we all have to kind of navigate and figure out, what works, because this whole idea of epigenetics, right, which is the environment in which you're in, the food you're eating, the lighting, temperature, clothes you're wearing, sounds you're listening to, all these different things do energetically affect you, right? And again, even I love heavy metal music. I grew up like, I mean, not like a real headbanger, but man, I love heavy metal and hard rock. I rarely listen to it anymore because the hard part is it just is inconsistent with the frequency that I'm trying to hold myself
Yep.
to. It doesn't mean that I don't go and listen sometimes, but it's very rare, and I have to be more careful even about. Usually, I'll only listen to music when it kind of becomes a music download. Like where I'll wake up in the morning and it's like there's a song in my head,
Mhm.
like "Good Day
Page of Soup.
Sunshine" from the Beatles was a couple days ago, so I had to listen to that song pretty much all day. But it's even in that. notice it was I don't know, some trip I was on just recently. My partner and I, we went to um yeah, it was this last trip we were on. We went into this, we looked up on Yelp, Thai restaurants near us because we were in a different city.
Mhm.
And so uh this one popped up. She's like, let's go try this. So we drive down there and we see the sign, we walk up to it, and it was like this weird kind of combination. It was like a bookstore, coffee shop, wine bar, Thai restaurant all together. And it was hard to, there was like a bar and there were some tables, but it was just like, you know, but anyway, so we put our name in on the wait list and we're sitting there just kind of waiting.
Mhm.
And the people and the music that was playing and just the environment in which it started grating on us. And we're like, nope, we can't be here for an hour.
Mhm.
And so we walked out and we're like, well, there has to be another restaurant around here that's going to be quiet. And we walk a block and we're like, hey, we said something about Chinese. There's a Chinese place over there. We walked over to the Chinese place. We were the only people in the restaurant. And it's not because it was a bad restaurant, but literally we were the only people in the restaurant. So it was quiet,
Mhm.
right? Because we needed the quiet at that
Yep.
time. So again, even the sound, the people that you're with, right?
Mm.
Sometimes when my phone rings and I see who it is, I don't pick up.
Nope. Nope.
If they leave a message, I might text them back, but I'm not talking to them, right? Because
Mhm.
I don't need to get sucked in
Yep.
to their energy or whatever else, too. So it's all of these things, in
Yep.
the energy in our environment. And the more that we can actually play with and find out what works best for us, especially if there's something that we're working on, or maybe if you're doing a practice or something like that, then it's really important, at least during that time frame, to really control the overall environment
Mhm.
that you're in. But it's even a good idea to um, think about this in all aspects and just become more aware of what's actually going on, because you're being affected whether you realize it or not.
Mhm.
And so the more intention and awareness we can place on it, the more we can uh, uh, kind of shape the environment to make it be the best that we can
Mhm.
have it.
Right.
Right.
Or to be able to choose the environment that you want to be in.
Hmm.
Like I find that in grocery stores,
Hmm.
actually, there are some grocery stores that I walk in and it just feels weird to me. I'm like, this just doesn't feel like it has a good vibe to it. Um, there are three of the same brand grocery store within 20 minutes from me, from my house. One of them is kind of small, um, kind of a friendly neighborhoody sort of vibe, even though it's, I mean, it's still a chain and all, but it's, because it has a nice feel to it. There's one that, again, same brand, just feels chaotic. It feels, I can't find anything in it. I can't, it's hard to focus when I'm in there. I the people in there have a different energy. Like I can feel different energy from people in there, and it's just a completely different experience, even though it's the same brand of grocery store. Like the colors and most of the stuff they do is very similar, but it something about that store in particular just I can't do it. That I'm telling my wife, like, unless it's something like 2 seconds run in and run back out, I can't do that store. Like I hate doing my shopping in that store. Even if it's more convenient, I can't do it. Um, and then again, just the environment is something that I wouldn't necessarily think about, but now that I'm becoming more aware of it, I can pick out things like that. Because like, why am I feeling weird in here? What's going on? It's not me per se. it's the environment, because every time I go in that store, I feel that way. Um, and so how can you how can you create the environment you want, but also, like you said with your Thai and Chinese restaurant example, choosing the places that you go based on the environment and how it makes you feel. Because I'm sure we've all gone into stores or places, and it just feels off. You just don't like the energy. It just kind of feels weird in there. And there's some places you go into and you're like, wow, this is just feels awesome. Like I'd stay here forever. It just is comfortable and soothing, and you can choose the experience you want by the feeling, the energy that's put off um by the spot. So, but again, it's choice.
No,
Comes
it
from
is,
your
and
awareness.
I think it's, for me, it's been easier as I've become more aware, just like you kind of explained,
Hmm.
of kind of the different energies of things like stores and restaurants and other things like that, where uh, it just, sometimes you'll kind of get low grade aggravated and not even realize it,
Hmm.
right? Like there's
Yeah.
music is one in particular. So when you go into stores, they're usually playing music, and the reason they're playing the music that they're playing is because psychologically it gets you to buy more things. Okay. And get you to feel a certain way. And so, we don't realize that all of that is there in the background all the time, and we're being affected by it, but most of the time it's subconscious and we don't realize it. But, for me as an example, I try to do a very good job of trying to be even keeled, because I can be annoyed and I can get angry. Okay, but I try to do everything I can to keep myself,
Hmm.
grounded, even not let those things get in my way. But when I do kind of snap, right, and I go back and I'm like, why did that happen? I can usually see that there's some environmental thing that has gone on
Hmm.
that I wasn't aware of, and that slowly just kind of built up, and I didn't even realize it. And so that's why too,
Hmm.
make fun of me for washing my hands and telling you to wash your hands, but that, or rubbing alcohol, or shaking like a dog, just shaking your head, doing something to release any energy that you might have picked up when you go to places like that, smudging yourself, whatever
Hmm.
works for you from an energy clearing perspective. But, it's a good idea to do that. I found benefit from doing that. In fact, a lot of times when we get back in the car, it's like energy clear, leave it, bye bye, and go on to the next
Hmm.
thing, right? And don't want to bring that stuff into my house either, necessarily.
Hmm.
So again, after getting home from a trip, one of the first things, you bring in all the stuff, take a big long shower, wash it all off, right? And I'm not
Yeah,
just
we just
talking about I'm not just talking about the sweat and the dirt, but it's the other stuff, that you
yeah,
end up picking up from everybody else's out there.
yeah, we just came back. My daughter and I went for to my mother's house for the weekend, and coming back, one of the first things I did when I did everything in the house was I got some sage spray, and I'm like, I need to, like, there's just a lot of stuff from that trip that I needed to get off. And it wasn't that I needed, it wasn't, shower because I had sweat and dirt and from that stuff, but it was just energy and things that just needed to be kind of help cleansed. Um, um, um,
So, we need to wrap up for this week, but, we talked a little bit about the energy of your environment, clothes, sounds, light,
mhm.
music, all kinds of different things. So, this week, just, maybe become more aware of the energy in your environment, and realize again, we all have choices. We can choose to engage or not engage. We can choose to,
Mm.
bring certain things into our lives more and not do other things as well to try to manage the energy that's around us. Because the more you start doing it, the more benefits you'll start to see. At least I've found that in myself.
Yep.
We become more sensitized to it, but it's also easier to see it, to wash it off, to move on, or to put the energy needed into whatever it is that we're actually doing. And that's actually probably another episode that we could talk about, of some of the ways to actually add energy in.
You
um,
got to use energy. Yeah.
yeah, and actually create energy in your environment through some different practices or other things that you can do. um, yeah. So we'll add that to the list, and if we feel like that's what we're supposed to talk about on one of the next recordings, we might get to that one too.
And if not, you may never hear it again. So
So there you go. Keep listening, because you never know. It might even be tucked in the middle of one of the episodes.
you never know with us. Exactly.
Yep. 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 Yep.
Awesome. Cool. Well, hey, we appreciate you guys listening. With that, we'll wrap up for this week, and we look forward to catching you guys on the next episode.
All right. See you, everybody.